Have you ever had a run look something like this? Kinda sucks, doesn't it? Perhaps you lost all your health to an Inquisitor in the prisoner's quarters, or maybe you missed a scroll, now your damage lower than lockdown employment rates. Good luck, have fun. It's very tempting to reset and try again, but sometimes it's important to try and salvage run, push against your limits and push against even more adversity, and if Dead Cells didn't have enough, perhaps you might get a blueprint for your efforts. Some more fun, some more skills. So, how do you salvage runs? I'll tell you here, how do you salvage this run? Is it 1. Cry, 2. Heal, 3. Big chunks is still funny, 4. Heal, 5. Do nothing, or 6. Get good. The answer is none of them. I tricked you. So that run, you probably shouldn't have salvaged it. It might be possible, but there wasn't really much point trying. Though salvaging runs is important, it's vital to know when and when not to reset. Usually the giveaway to consider resetting is when the run meets 2 of these conditions. Your weapons are terrible, you missed a scroll or scroll fragment, your health is really low and you use a flask, and your run is still in the early game. Usually going forward with a ruined run won't net you the practice that all the other Dead Cells YouTubers tell you is so vital to your livelihood and relationships. I don't think you're going to get a stable income and a wife doing a run with Tentacle and an Ice Blast with 1 scroll on survival. But that's not what this video is about, so how do you save these runs that perhaps you should have reset? Golly, that's some pretty stinky damage output, so what do you do? Try that, doesn't work. Usually bad damage output can be credited to one of 2 things, which is scroll count and synergy. There are probably other factors, but I won't go over them. Because scroll count, I don't really want to necessarily just pick up all the scrolls, because everyone knows that, and I'm assuming you know how to play the game, because I don't want to be like all the other YouTubers who spend like 10 minutes waffling about how you need to pick up all the scroll stats and take all the curse chests. I want to trust you guys, and I want to trust that you know how important curse chests are, and you know how important challenge drifts are. But sometimes in a suffering run, picking up all the scrolls available just doesn't cut it, because not all biomes are born equal. This is a Dead Cells biome map. We're interested in scroll count and the fragment count. You won't really be able to see how your build sucks until the mid game, because scaling is much milder in the early game, so let's see what the options are. First you need to know that you need to take risks, because of course you run the risk of dying, but these risks are going to pay off, because if you don't run the risk, your damage is going to stink and you'll probably die nonetheless. The most rewarding boss is Conductivius. Conduct can be accessed through 2 biomes, which are Ramparts and Ancient. It's vital to go through the prisons to get the curse chest, and through either one you can access Conduct. From Depths there's a door to Ancient, and from Corrupted you naturally go through Ancient, yet Ramparts are too an option if you need this health flask. If you were a bit of a numpty, and only figured out that your build stinks until after boss 1 and happy to go to Concierge or Mamate, here's the deal. So Nest leads to Graveyard, so you have that option straight up, and Concierge leads to Slumbering Sanctuary, so you gotta be really careful because it's one of the toughest biomes, so the scroll payoff there is also the best. There's a boss cell door in Sanctuary that leads to Caverns. Clock Tower only has 1 less scroll fragment than Caverns, but Caverns has access to tier 12 weapons, which will surely help out in a suffering run. Some affixes are extremely powerful, mostly just affixes that look like plus X% damage to Y status element. Getting your hands on each is not too difficult. Bleed, Open Wounds or Knife Dance, Root, Wolf Trap or Voice Axe, Shock, Testicle or Thun Shield, Fire, Firebrands or Fire Grenade, Stun, Crusher or Scavenge Bombard, Freeze, Ice Armor or Ice Shield, Slow, Ice Shards or Melee, and Oil Grenade or Oiled Sword. These are some pretty important support abilities and shields to memorize off the top of your head. Sometimes synergy doesn't have to look like a number or a crit condition though. The Pure Nail and Katana both have extremely quick animations, and stringing together their movesets is no problem. The Ice Shards have nearly no lag and plenty of cancel frames, so pairing with a big, slow survival weapon work a charm, throwing the shards and animation cancelling into a broadsword swing. The list goes on with some support weapons to be build staples like Ice Shards, Okuda's Bow, Throwing Knife, Boomerang, Knife Dance, Wolf Trap and Cocoon. So if your build is suffering, be sure to pick up one of these depending on what build you're running. Personally, I think that Gastronomy is one of the best mutations in the game. Fight me! Like I said, I personally think Gastronomy is a strong contender for the best mutation in the game. I'm not sure how many times this mutation has saved me, mainly because I haven't been counting. And the best part is you can use it to nearly its full effect from 0 scroll, since the healing effect, all food heals 65% more from base, doesn't scale. You pick up more food than you might realise you do because the healing it provides is fairly negligible. 15% is pretty okay, but consider the option of being able to heal 25% of your health, an entire quarter. And then big foods will heal 88% of your health, which is a lot, and you can find a big food guaranteed in a food shop in some biomes. Given you should avoid using a health flask unless you're in a situation of dire emergency, food is going to be your main healing option, and I recommend turning on the accessibility setting that gives secrets an outline, because they can be pretty hard to see in heat of the battle, and that's where most of the food you're going to get is coming from. Hey, it's 5VC, it's not really cheating. The game's brutal, having this on is only going to help with conserving Inquisitor Harry runs anyways. So what do you do when the health flask lanterns are gone? Oh, 0BC newcomers. Well, you need to get good, apparently. No. Given that the health flask lanterns are gone, the natural instinct is to save them for later, which basically means never use them. Of course, you still need to skill it out in Dead Cells, but due to its roguelike DNA, it's naturally extremely chaotic and luck-based. Sometimes mishaps are just unavoidable, but you don't need to reset whenever you use a flask early game. Maybe you've used to, but as I said, think about this. You might think to not use a health flask, since the run's probably going to fail anyways, but since it's going to fail, wouldn't you rather get further? If the run is going to fail and you're going to die, would you not rather die later and get further in the run, get some practice, or even maybe some fun? Maybe you might just tough it out later and make it really far, getting lucky with food and skilling it out to never have to use a flask for the rest of the run. If you happen to run out of health flasks in the late game from using them earlier to get further, first of all, you do get further. It may seem like a waste of time going forward in the bottom run, but it really doesn't feel good having to reset prisoners' quarters all the time. And when you're like that, just all your runs end in prisoners' quarters, and in some random situation you just somehow make it to the Astro Lab, and then you're ending in the prisoners' quarters again. Rather, if you use your health flasks, you keep getting further, and as you get better at the game, you keep getting further and further until you can beat the game consistently, rather than just out of nowhere you just beat the game like 6 times and then you're terrible again. Secondly, if you manage to get so unlucky as to use your entire health bar to an awkwardly placed festering zombie, you might get just as lucky to breeze through the rest of the game. If the game is so fickle, expect the best and prepare for the worst. You don't need to be so fixated on how unlucky you might get with a run, because with the same chance you could get a god run going for you. It's also important to consider the availability of health flask refills. In earlier boss cells, there's really no risk of losing a health in a run, but in 5BC there's a maximum of 3 flask charges per run, each costing 20,000, so be mindful of which biomes you're going to as you want to live. Since in the only biome 3 choice without a food drop is Ancient, and the only biome 4 choice without a food drop is Slumbering. So if you know where you're going, you can use a health flask before biome 3 or biome 4, and if you conserve your money carefully, you should be able to pick up a health flask charge for 20,000 gold. Ooh, go ahead, drink that health flask. I'm not really going to judge you. Hey, thanks for watching the video. Here's some videos that I think you might like. I mean, the YouTube thinks you might like them, and at this point I'm not even sure if YouTube thinks you might like them. It just feels like it picks a couple of videos from random and says, hey, these are the ones for you, enjoy! Subscribe. You don't have a choice. I can wait. Subscribe yet? Subscribe. Do it.